Okay, hello everyone, and I hope that we are on now. So hello everyone, and welcome to our session about innovations in education. As mentioned before, today we have two concurrent sessions, and this session for now has more than 100 participants, so we would expect a little bit more. Anyhow, it is my pleasure to moderate this session and to greet you all and express our pleasure having you with us today. So during the last decade, and especially during the last few years, we are witnessing significant transformations in the educational space. Catalyzed by the COVID pandemic, innovations in the education sector bloom as never before. Some of the examples address innovative paradigms, such as example, phenomenon-based learning in Finland, or next generation of learning services such as digital badges, micro-credentials, and comprehensive learner records, delivery models such as hybrid, personalized, or adaptive learning, or implementation of new technologies such as AI and VR, XR in education. HCT is extensively engaged with the sector at various levels, and all of those levels have a lot of those mentioned elements already embedded. So our early childhood study program provides education for future teachers and engages in research in that field. As the largest academic provider for more than 30 years, HCT contributes to the UAE society and knowledge economy. And emphasizing on future readiness, HCT constantly explores and contributes to the latest global higher education trends. So today, it is my honor to present panelists who would help us in providing more insights regarding innovations in the education sector and help us participate together in the future building of the same. The first panelist I would like to introduce is Ms. Jumana Salem, Vice President of Digital Transformation in Injazat and one of the UAE leading companies in the innovation technologies. Jumana, welcome.
Thank you.
Would you please present yourself just in a few words?
Very happy to be here, everybody. My name is Jumana Salem. I've been in the education technology field my entire career, which started out in Washington, D.C. and moved to New York City, working for companies that you might have heard of, like Newton and Amplify. So really embedded into all the buzzwords that we now know, the algorithms behind adaptivity, lots and lots of gamification products, and moved to Abu Dhabi about 4 years ago, worked at Alif Education here in Abu Dhabi, and last year joined Injazat as they were embarking on their very exciting transformation journey and looking after specifically the edtech vertical at Injazat. Very excited about the panel today.
Thank you, Jumana. Our second panelist would be Hani Abu-Ghazaleh, co-founder and CEO at Mental VR, regional leader in implementing extended reality. Hani?
Thank you, Marco. So I co-founded Mental VR about 5 years ago. It's a homebred Abu Dhabi company with offices in Poland. We're specialized in developing learning and development virtual reality software. Mental is my second tech venture after working in a very different industry in game development. I was specialized in art direction and computer generated imagery back in Vancouver for almost 2 decades. And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. We have another Hani Alshazly, Regional Vice President of Blackboard, our trusted partner and disruption enabler. Hani?
Thank you for the introduction, Marco. Well, again, I'm Hanny Alshazly. I'm the Regional Vice President of Blackboard. Within my role in Blackboard, I look after the business expansion, as well as growing our user community across of the Middle East. I started my career almost 25 years old. It's always been in EdTech, and I started in a very small town called Halifax in Nova Scotia in Canada. And been very blessed and fortunate where I define myself more of like a contractor building digital campuses, worked with universities and schools from the US, Canada, across Europe and of course, Middle East and Africa. And I'm very happy to be part of this panel today. Thank you.
Thank you, Hani. And last but not least, Mr. Ali Alyafei, IT advisor to the minister at the UAE Ministry of Education.
Thank you, Marco. First, I would like to thank our College of Technologies for setting up such an interesting forum. I'm glad to be here with you guys. A little bit about me. I have over 20 years of experience in different sectors, including finance, military, municipal affairs, and now lastly, education. I've been responsible of the large transformation program in education known as Mohamed bin Rashid Smart Learning Program. We did a lot of actual transformation, and it's brought a lot of joy to my heart seeing the transformation happening. So thank you again for having us here.
Thank you so much. So let's start with the questions. First question for all of you is, what is, as per your understanding, the most impactful education-related innovation trend today? Let's start from Jumana.
Sorry, I was on mute. I think the most impactful trend is the forward-looking trends that happened through COVID, right? The acceleration that happened during COVID. So we were no longer just thinking about things that were sort of an add-on or supplemental, but that tech became core to all our ecosystems. So things like IoT, adaptivity, digital curriculum, on-demand tutoring, on-demand counseling, all of these things that will make the education experience better, more impactful, are, I think, really good things. The one thing that I don't see yet that would, I think, be very, very impactful, but that COVID accelerated our thinking about it and our discussion about it, is to have a more kind of disruptive approach to edtech. So what we're seeing in other industries, where sort of the model itself is turned upside down, and where you see very deep innovation, we still, I think, have a long way to go when it comes to education. Understandably so, we have to be very, very cautious when we talk about education. But the really exciting stuff like smart campuses, smart classrooms, all of these really cool things, seamless integration between curriculum and student information systems and all that good stuff, I think is very exciting. And I definitely see how the UAE, my background is in the US, and I do see how the UAE has, leapfrogged beyond anything that I've seen in the US when it comes to delivery of that, especially in K through 12. So I think it's exciting to see how much has happened, the readiness that was there, but I also think now is the time to think about, all right, well, how might we really challenge this model and bring the same kind of disruption that we've seen brings all sorts of benefits to other industries.
Thank you so much, Jumana. Hani, Abu-Ghazaleh, would you be so kind to give your overview?
Absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more with Jumana. I think there were a lot of trends that were making their way over the last couple of years, like everything from, AI and machine learning, the adaptive learning, big data and analytics. These were all very, and still are very valid trends today. But I think, the curveball that COVID-19 threw at us made remote learning, like a key area that is relevant to where we are right now. I mean, COVID has been with us now for 12 months, and I imagine that it's going to change the way that we're going to learn. So I feel today remote learning, powered by all these trends, with remote learning, you're talking about more people that are available online, more data to mine, more to feed the brains of the AI. And I think there's a huge opportunity for all of these previous trends combined with remote learning to yield much better results.
Thank you, Hani, so much. Hani Alshazly, what would be the response from your perspective?
Thank you, Marco. And I love the kind of background from Jumana and Hani. It's like I feel tagging on that same note. I've been working day in and day out with whether it could be ministries or kind of higher level at a lot of universities about the question is, will this work or not in terms of edtech, and can you make it work? And in terms of my personal focus in a lot of conferences has been about student engagement and about lecture capture as one of the trends I've always found a lot of potential for, because we're predominantly in this region visual learners, and I felt it was the kind of right trend at the time. And as Hani mentioned, now it's actually 12 months, looking at the calendar, February of 2021, we're marking 12 months into this. I'll kind of shift gear into feeling virtual classroom pretty much similar to where we're at this point, where 12 months ago, that would have been not sure if it's something that we would want as a university to use predominantly with our students, where today, not just that we're using it, we proved that we will not stop, whether it's COVID or not. We proved that we can still find ways to break the ice, have the students engaged online and work forward. And I feel, again, virtual classroom and collaboration online, as well as assessment online, is becoming right now the kind of most impactful trend that I'm seeing in higher education more than anything else. K-12, again, is another animal, I would say, altogether to tackle with how it's running with a virtual classroom, but it's something that's more of like in a transition kind of phase at this point because of the faculty level that needs to be up to speed for the technology.
Mr. Ali, your view, please.
Yeah, I mean, everybody before me did really highlight. I mean, I think it is distance learning that we were forced to jump into COVID-19 was the main changer. The good thing is for the UAE, we were preparing for this for the last 6 years. So when it happened, it was a flip of a switch. Within a period of less than 1 to 2 weeks maximum, all private and public schools were able to switch to distance learning. And I think the maturity there that we have underestimated, actually, they were much more mature and the adoption was very quick. And the reason is the infrastructure was very steady and they were familiar with these technologies and they were in practices in different ways, but it brought everything together during the COVID-19. Another trend that I think really is making impact into learning and education, which is the use of technology in teaching STEAM. Now, because everybody's preparing for the 21st century and the fourth generation for the new jobs market that we have to create, the use of EdTech in lower grades, starting from KG, going all the way to grade 12, they're starting to use some type of robots from a 3-year-old, teaching them concept of sequencing, going up the ladder slowly, introducing microprocessors, introducing 3D printers, starting doing programming using Python, some of the AI models concept. All these are trends that are happening and they are really impacting and transforming the level of maturity of our students that are ready to take when they go to their first years of university. So the gap of university and schools have been reduced a lot, and they're more ready to it thanks to adoption of these new technologies.
Thank you very much. I would add a few more things before we shift to another question. Of course, we have a huge disruption when it comes to digitization of a learning space. Anyhow, there are still a lot of areas to be changed or transformed in order to ensure that everything fits well. Pedagogies, learning models, degree duration or qualification duration, all of those things are so important to move forward in, let's say, adjusting to the new enablers. So technology is here. We have proven that it works. And today, no one has a doubt that we would get back where we were a year and a half ago. There is no way back. So we are going forward. And in our way, on our way forward, we have to think about all of those elements which make learning successful. So that was just an intro to my second question, and we will go in the same sequence. So how do you think that education would look like in 2030? And what you and us can do together to ensure it's efficient but sustainable and safe future? So Jumana, let's start from you, please.
I think one of the things that we'll start paying more attention to, and I'm so happy Ali brought that up about STEAM and early learning. You know, we pay so much attention right now to employability, skilling, upskilling, reskilling. All this is so important, right? Especially when we're talking about contributing value to economic growth and all of this. And HCT especially does an incredible job with that. What I really worry about, though, is if we start to think in that track of skills, without marrying it very thoughtfully with knowledge from a very early age, then we'll end up with a lot of students who are relying on AI, a lot of workers that are relying on AI to give them answers. But as we know, AI will be as intelligent and as biased by the types of questions you ask. So in order to be able to ask the right kinds of questions, we do have to make sure that the kind of education that Ali is describing, STEAM and asking the right kinds of questions and all of that information and knowledge is also instilled in our students at a very early age. So it's not just about them being able to, you know, code and do all of these things. And that's why I loved your point about the pheno-based learning. That is a really nice approach, and it is enabled by platforms like the MBR platform, where you have access to digital libraries, you have access to experiments, you have access to all of these different things. So I think that we have to be careful when we message about skills, that it doesn't mean we don't care about knowledge. And that, I think, is where the conversation needs to really start going when we talk about 2030. Yeah, and it's forums like this that make sure that we're able to kind of keep that message up.
Thank you so much. And this is where, for example, our early childhood program can get on as a partner to any idea which may come from your side or otherwise, because we are by default focused on that age where we have to introduce some new concepts. Definitely, it should start from the early years and then build on whatever is going on around us. Future would change so quickly, so we have to be prepared not only to embed new technologies, but also to embed new approaches. Thank you very much, Jumana. Hani, Abu-Ghazaleh.
So, I mean, the first thing that I imagine, you know, if I project into the year 2030, is the brick and mortar educational institutes that we know today is going to start looking different. It's going to become a blended learning method where the brick and mortar schools will be more intelligent, will be smarter, but at the same time, there's going to be, I imagine, an alternative to that through distant learning, whether it, you know, being virtual reality that will allow us to be in those digital doubles of those schools, or even traditional conferencing like the one that we're having right now. And the great thing about that is it's going to open a lot of opportunities for giving students, unfortunate students in remote areas, access to niche learning. So in a way, you know, like I see a democratization of learning where even some complex learning material that were at some point only accessible in certain educational institutes will be accessible to more people. And the community, as a result, will get larger. So the community that we know at schools and at universities will extend beyond the walls of that school, which gives an amazing opportunity for you know, cross-learning, you know, especially, you know, students from different backgrounds and cultures. And something that's closer to what we are doing is the evolution of virtual reality. So today, virtual reality is, I see it still its infancy, and you know, with the with it becoming more accessible, with it being cheaper and smaller and lighter, I see greater opportunities there for emulating the lecture room. Like, it doesn't have to be the same lecture room that we have it today. So imagine, you know, yourself as a teacher where you're in a virtual auditorium presenting on the wall the same way that you do now, but even taking it further where you can start bringing learning aids to that room, whether it's 3D objects or the ability to teleport everybody in that classroom over to a location that's more relevant. and being able to do that with people from all over the world, students and educators. And then imagine also like having a figure like Einstein, having his likeness with an AI-driven thing, giving a lecture about the theory of relativity. Having those VR headsets will allow us to immerse the students into experiential learning, like instead of having them read about the Second World War, putting them in there, getting them to live the events. I see all of these things that we've been talking about and that we're prototyping here in our studio. I see it becoming more mainstream and adopted by educational institutes.
Thank you so much. Everything sounds amazingly interesting, definitely.
Yeah. And the second part to your question was how do we control that, right?
How we can collaborate on making it happen.
I see. So I think something that Jumana touched on is and it's partly making our students more hireable. So I think the technology needs to work in a way, and the people that are working on that technology with both ends of the spectrum. So when students graduate, they're going to have to be more hireable. So working with the industry that those students are studying to become part of, we need to bring both parties to the picture and think of the content that we're going to be teaching them, try to project it into the future. So by the time that the student is graduating, making sure that the skills that they've learned at school is something that's going to make them more hireable by companies like ours or other companies in the industry. And all of that needs to be moderated. The AI is going to get smarter. We need to make sure that we harness it, we control it, and use it as an aid for the educators. The role of the educator is going to change. So I think we need to make sure that we're not only preparing the students, but also the teachers for that big change, and how the technology is not really threatening, but rather another tool that's going to open the spectrum and allow them to do things that weren't possible in the past. And with all of that, I think the preparation that Mr. Ali mentioned about having the bandwidth and the infrastructure prepared to handle this kind of advancement in the technology, right? And with that, the cybersecurity solutions to make sure that everything remains secure and that students are not exposed to unwanted content. The same way that we moderate movies and video games, I think education needs that level of moderation. And my final thought around that is that I imagine the students in the future, 23 and beyond, their goals are going to be beyond finishing a specific year. I imagine it changing to like them reaching certain milestones regardless of the time or the year that they're in. So once they hit that milestone, I believe they should move on to the next one.
Thank you, Hani. You're quite right. I was muted. Sorry. There is a need for a change within the infrastructure as well. Definitely. Teachers should change their minds. They have to change their approach, their pedagogy. It's not easy, especially for those who are in the business for decades, but it's a necessity. And we are working very hard here at the HCT to support them at this journey. And for now, it shows great success. Hani Alshazly, can you give us your overview?
Thank you, Marco, and I'm glad kind of Jumana started talking about kind of the earlier or kind of K-12 effect on this part, because I see it firsthand with my first grader son, who early in March has started thinking about his first grade being fully online with a lot of technology, and I see the pros and cons on this firsthand as a father. But the part I'm more involved in, I'd like kind of to shed some light on, is I talk to a fair bit of students, teenage years, like first, second year in university as part of the counseling programs I'm involved in. And one of the things I've noticed in the past 12 months, students are involved in programs in Canada. They're actually here with their parents in Dubai and vice versa. And they're taking the time to continue with their courses. They're taking the time to maybe pick up another job or internship and so on and so forth. But the one question that when you ask them, and this is what takes me again to 5 to 10 years from now, is like, what do you feel about this one is becoming very successful? And I feel, again, it's a stress test for all of these universities and institutes to see if this works. They're all can't wait to still meet in person and socialize and start learning that personal skills that we took away from them. Again, if I'm looking into this from boards that I'm on with higher education, I feel given the more, as Hani mentioned, employable skills, working with students more on a student-centered program to be able to tell them, I think we're going from a higher ed towards vocational, if I may put it that way, where rather than just working on hypothetical elements or research, we're trying to give them more employable skills that they can start working with at this point. And more what I see as part of the result of that, and I started seeing it happening now, interesting enough, but I think it will take more effect within the next 10 years, is more collaboration between universities, working on courses that you can start at higher colleges and transfer that to another university, whether it's here or in Canada or the US or somewhere else. And as a student, you'll be able to be more mobile from a degree perspective, that you can start having those elements. And again, that will result into the skills that they can build from each and every one of the universities that they're in. Thank you.
That's exactly one of the very important focuses and perspectives, customer perspective, and change how students can perceive or acquire their education. As a head of the international relations here at the HCT, I understand that very well, and I understand what are the potentials of what this approach can provide to our students. Mr. Ali, your view, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I largely agree with Hani Abu-Ghazaleh when he says that the brick and mortar type of schools will start being diminished and replaced by virtual schools. And main drivers for that will be economical driver, because it will be cheaper to provide education, and accessibility for better spectrum of students who are all around the world. But at the same time, we have to be careful, because this model has not been perfected yet. It cannot work alone. It has to be complemented with education as a village, or education as a city, or as a country. There's different strategical partners that have to be involved more formally in a structured way, maybe managed by the government or so. You have the ministries of youth and culture. You have the parenthood, motherhood and childhood organization. You have the private sector. Everybody needs to start contributing to this virtual school model. Otherwise, it will not work. It will not be sustainable, and it may risk to degrade the quality of education that our students have. So that's something serious. We did not gather enough efficacies on the virtual schooling or the distance learning to know really how well they work. We don't know where really the gaps are. So we need to do more work on that. So this is what I see coming in the near future. Also, something that people think that is ridiculous, but I think it's coming. The robots are coming. Already today, many countries, including the UAE, are including robots in their education. We are starting very early. The next phase, it's only 10 years from now, where humanoid robots will be introduced. Especially initially, it will be in the areas where it needs diagnosis, like students with ASDs, because they have various senses, they have various awareness that the teacher cannot gather. It gathers more data on the environment around them. So I see 10 years from now, more introduction of these humanoid robots in learning and school. 50 years from now, it may be a robot buddy that lives with the students 24/7.
Thank you so much. And you have emphasized one very important thing, is that first of all, if we want really a qualitative change, we have to act as an ecosystem. So all of the parties within the ecosystem should collaborate closely. And also we have to take a kind of agile approach and to adjust and rectify on the way. So there are no perfect solutions yet, but we are on the way. We are in the speed train, and this speed train can't be stopped. But we have to navigate, we have to steer, and we have to keep our eyes on tracks in order to maintain the safe transition. Thank you very much, all of you. I was very pleased to have you all today at this panel. there are a few questions from the audience, and if you don't mind, you can try to respond to them within the Q&A session as much as you can. In the meantime, I would shift to the second part of our session, which will be focused on applied research project presentations from the HCT faculty. So thank you very much, all of the panelists, and let's move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so basically, let's start now with the next session, which will be focused on the applied research, as mentioned. We have 3 faculty members from HCT who would present some of their applied research achievements related with the education projects. First of those who would present today would be Dr. Fawzi Bouslama. He would be followed by Dr. Daoud, and the session would close with Dr. Tanya Al-Agar. So first of all, dear colleagues, I would like to ask you to introduce yourselves in few words, one by one, in the same order, and then we would start with the presentations. So Dr. Fawzi, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. My name is Dr. Fawzi Bouslama. I'm Associate Professor in CIS at Dubai Men's Campus. I've been with ICT for 11 years now. I have a very wide experience, international experience in higher education. Got my PhD in Japan 1992. Also my master in 1989. Taught many courses, variety of courses in information system, information technology, worked in the industry in Toshiba and Schlumberger, and it's a pleasure for me to share with you today my latest research about emotion and intelligence in higher education.
Fantastic, Dr. Fawzi. Dr. Daoud, please present yourself in a few words.
My name is Dr. Dawood. I am from CIS, Sharjah campus. I have been in computer science for more than 30 years. I got my PhD from Grenoble, my master from Glasgow University, and I've been involved in many natural language processing projects. Okay, and one of them was international with the United Nations called Universal Networking Languages to remove language barriers between people. And I will introduce my project, which is about removing barriers from resource-rich languages and resource poor languages like Arabic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Daoud. And Dr. Tanya, would you mind to present yourself with apologies that we have left lady for the end?
Thank you, Dr. Marco. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Tanya. I'm an assistant professor at the Faculty of Education, Abu Dhabi campuses. I have been teaching probably for the last 30 years. I have a doctorate in teaching and learning from the University of Leicester. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we would start with the presentations of the applied research by our 3 faculty members. At the end of each presentation, we would get an opportunity, or audience would get an opportunity to get in touch with our faculties in order to maybe boost some collaboration in the areas where we already have such an expertise. So Dr. Fawzi and his project about using AI and soft computing based emotional intelligence frameworks for testing emotional literacy. Floor is yours, and I hope that someone from the organization will take care about the slides.
Okay, hello everyone. It is my pleasure today as part of the InnCuVation Forum to present to you my HCT funded applied research project entitled Using AI and Soft Computing Based Emotional Intelligence Frameworks for Testing Emotional Literacy of Students at the higher colleges of technologies. Now, education and institutions have a considerable interest in identifying links between personal trait and academic success. It has long been known that intelligent quotient or IQ alone is not the sole or a particularly good predictor of success. Research has indicated that other features related to emotional intelligence and how someone perceives oneself and others are good indicators, or at least a contributor to educational success. This form of intelligence has been the subject of a wide range of studies related to academic success and to the workplace, and in particular leadership qualities. Many studies indicate that a lot of reasons for a student's failure is attributable to the lack of emotional intelligence, and that high scores in emotional intelligence contribute to success in life in general. So it was sensible for me to investigate in this applied research project the influence emotional intelligence has on the well-being of students in educational settings and whether or not this contributes to academic success. In fulfillment of its strategy, the High College of Technology, which is the UAE's largest applied higher education institution in the country, has prioritized developing higher order 21st century skills, including leadership and emotional intelligence. So since AI is considered as an important 21st century skill, so it was for me that developing a localized and bilingual emotional intelligence assessment battery was of a critical importance in this research. Currently, if you look in the literature, in the market, there are several emotional intelligence tools available to measure students' AI skills. However, these tests appear to be lacking clarity and do not take into consideration the linguistic abilities of students whose mother tongue is not English. So as these emotional intelligence tests are becoming an essential tool and integral part of hiring, orienting, and counseling strategies at HCT, I'm talking here about the holistic ecosystem, it was essential to design and develop a more constructive assessment tool that considered the bilingual aspects of our students and their level of literacy in English language. For this purpose, I initially adopted and developed an AI model based on 4 dimensions. My model was inspired from the work famous by Daniel Goleman and also by Cartwright and Soloway, a model where self-awareness was at the center of the model. I collaborated with research in linguistics to develop surveys designed to assess new student skills in 4 dimensions, which are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. Then the 4-dimension model, I later updated it in collaboration with other researchers and augmented it to include 2 very important emotional skills, which are adaptability and general mood. By the way, these very important additional emotional skills are well sought by the society and industry, which can equip employees, students, everyone with resilience. So in order to design and develop the EI surveys, I established an interdisciplinary research group by involving researchers from the General Studies Foundation, Arabic and Emirati Studies, and the Student Success Center here at Dubai Men's Campus. This included Dr. Lana Hyasa, Dr. Christine Kump from the General Studies, Dr. Carmen Medina from the Foundation, Dr. Firas Al-Samarai and Musa Al-Ali from Arabic and Emirati Studies, Dr. Asma Joan and Francisca Roberts from the Student Success Center. I also established an international collaboration with academic institutions abroad in Canada and later in Spain. I involved Professor Rose Manser from the School of Business and Information Technology, Fleming College in Canada. And I also involved Dr. Carmen Medina from the Official School of Languages of Antequera in Spain. So we developed surveys and we administered those surveys to 75 students in foundation and 225 students in the bachelor common year. These students were usually taking the course on Life and Study Skills, LSS 1003. Also, as part of the applied research, we identified and investigated a number of interventions which have already shown effectiveness in developing and strengthening AI skills. This included focusing on yourself, training, participants on how to develop emotional skills with others, and finally, a number of interventions to develop mood adaptability and AI skills. Now, you see in this slide that I have put the AI-based or soft computing-based, a system that I have developed, to map the results from the assessment into interventions. Why this has been used, why fuzzy logic or fuzzy budget framework is being involved. In fact, when you look at the results that we obtain from the assessment, from the surveys, they are all numericals. So you might say a student X is 3.35 self-aware of himself. But the question that I'm asking you is, do we need such accuracy in this case? I think we are dealing with a very complex problem, multidimensional, which is a human-based, and in fact, we can sacrifice accuracy for the sake of, solving the problem. And here, fuzzy is so strong, and fuzzy logic, fuzzy inference, and linguistic variables, and fuzzy sets. All of these concepts, I have used them to develop this framework of a fuzzy-based, classifier, where we have at the inputs the 6 dimensions, the 6, emotional skills results assessed as per the survey, and they are all crisp, numerical, and plugged into the rule base and the fuzzy engine. And at the output, we receive also a mapping into some linguistic variables that represent the interventions. But this is, what we want to do, and this has allowed us to solve the problem. So this fuzzy logic and fuzzy sets developed in 65 by A. Lotfizada is very appropriate in this case. And the proposed AI fuzzy model, is expected to be used within HCT and also by other institutions abroad, higher education, to, first of all, assess and identify students who are lacking, soft skills, emotional skills, students who are at risk, and of course, develop a strategy for interventions, appropriate interventions, and use this AI-based, mapping tool to have an appropriate and intelligent way of, classifying students in the right interventions. My work continues. I do have a grant interdisciplinary is being, recently approved. I will continue working on this very important topic. We have just had a big international conference in emotional intelligence, well-being, and happiness, and we have had 2,375 participants from all 5 continents. So this to show you that this topic of emotional intelligence, well-being, and happiness is so critical, so important to everybody, not only students and employees at HCT, but everywhere in the society, in the community, in the UAE, and it needs all of our attention. So thank you for your listening, and I hope this was useful to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fauzi, and you were perfectly in 7 minutes allowed it. So it was pleasure listening about your research, and for all of the participants, there are contact informations about you and your work here and in chat. So whoever finds this research interesting, please get in touch with Dr. Fauzi, and don't hesitate to approach us with a collaboration proposal. Now we would launch the first poll related with, let's say, your evaluation of Dr. Fauzi's research. I would just mention that the poll results would not be presented at the end of the vote, but I would invite you all to vote at the poll, and then we would continue with the next presenter. So while you're voting, once more, please don't hesitate to go to the chat section and get in touch with Dr. Fauzi. Thank you. We have finished with our vote, and it's my pleasure to give a floor to Dr. Dawood and his research titled Lexar, Building a Unified and Collaborative Platform for Arabic Technical Terms. Dr. Dawood, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Today I will present my applied research, which is about building a unified and collaborative platform for Arabic technical terms. It is the topic here, and it is directed to removing language barriers of knowledge. Okay, we know that the difficulty of transferring in knowledge into Arabic. Problems are associated with finding Arabic equivalents of technical terms. For example, object-oriented, cloud computing. You'll find many equivalent, Arabic equivalents. Some of them are accepted by the audience, they are not accepted by the people, okay? A lot of terminological terms that appear every day, but have no equivalent in the Arabic language. Also, this is another issue. The absence of free usable lexical and syntactic resources and tools for Arabic makes a PI language poorly informatized. So we can identify two problems: how to acquire or create the Arabic equivalents massively for the enormous quantity of new terms, and how to identify good terminologists and how to motivate them to make them involved in the process. So we think that build a repository that can only be foreseen as a collaborative work involving terminologists, domain experts, volunteers, and translators from the entire Arabic world. Lexar focuses on building a centralized web-based information system used to gather and disseminate multilingual terminological data containing Arabic terms. The system should provide the following functionalities: creation and edition of a term entry, advanced search for particular dictionary entries, including of some semantic attributes and reference to specialized ontologies and of the tackle domain, exchange facilities with other systems like machine translation system or other type of systems. Okay. So here we have a collaborative platform involve different people. We are not leaving this task to linguists. Okay, domain experts are very important, volunteers, normal users, and then we try to harmonize this activity between all of them. Okay, the following, we are in the middle of this work, and we expect it to arise through the interdisciplinary research and other activities pertinent to the proposed project. The web-based Lexar platform that will implement a collaborative term bank adequate for building and supporting a large multilingual terminological database containing Arabic. Application of this framework to different technical domains with studies of their effects upon their diversified audience, evaluation of the possible exploitation of Lexar in the Arab region. We're planning to at least adding 20,000 terms should be يعني available at least in Arabic and English after 2 years, but more terms in more languages should be achievable. We plan to have research publications and reports defining models and metaphors for collaborative terms bank systems using state-of-the-art novel technology. Yeah, we are targeting different beneficiaries, translators in the public and private sector, readers of scientific and technical text, students, academic institutes, institutions such as universities, institutes, colleges, government institution, industry, television and new agency, any content organization that involved in creation of content, okay? So the target group is large. What are the opportunities out of this project? We plan to make it free software. Lexar platform should also be a free software. The content of Lexar, however, the content of Lexar, the terms in various languages and their translation links should be put in free access also. There should be no restriction on the kind of usage of the content. On the contrary, one goal of the project is to foster the usage, okay, of Arabic in as many computer-based applications and services as possible, be they are free or commercial. We are thinking of Lexar project as Linux or W3C business model. Commercial services could naturally be developed around Lexar. They would not let users pay for the content, but for additional services, such as publishing in special formats, adding terms for new domains, then freely accessible and usable by all, training, adding new languages, linking to machine translation system, etc. So these are the activities that will come around and could be integrated with Lexar, okay? And using it, we can generate revenue for this platform. Now we are in the middle of developing this platform. We employ some students, undergraduate students, to help us to develop such a platform. We think that by the end of this semester we can have a prototype for such a platform, and we are trying now to contact some Arabic academies to incorporate them into this project. Thank you for listening, and I hope it was clear.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dawood, and it was perfectly clear, and again, within the given time, so thank you for your punctuality as well. Now, aside on the chat section, you will be able to see the contacts of Dr. Dawood if anyone from the audience may be interested in collaboration, further collaboration on this project. And we would launch another poll now focusing on your opinion about Dr. Dawood's research. So please vote. Thank you very much for your votes. It's my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Tanya Lagar and her project titled the iReader Arabic Online Reading Tracking Tool. So Dr. Tanya, floor is yours.
I can't share.
And I would kindly ask someone from tech to launch a new presentation.
Dr. Dahoud, can you just stop sharing? Dr. Dahoud, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Marco. Dear government and industry partners, HCT, fellow HCT colleagues attending the forum today, over the next 7 minutes, I will be sharing with you the aims and findings of our innovative applied research project titled the iReader Arabic Online Reading Tracking Tool. Before moving on, I would like to thank the co-investigators involved in the study, Dr. Helen Demirci and Dr. Uday Nahjer, as well as our young HCT research assistants and volunteers. As you may be aware, 2016 was launched as the Year of Reading by His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the UAE. The main aims of this noble initiative was to produce a reading generation and to establish the UAE as the capital of knowledge and culture. The rationale behind this initiative was the direct link, the empirical evidence associated with the benefits of reading and producing a knowledge society. Good readers, whether in English or in Arabic, tend to be more successful and autonomous, are able to extend their knowledge and transfer whatever learned to novel situations. Despite all the benefits associated with reading, students arrive to college with minimum reading skills and not having read to the extent required to function in higher education institutions. They tend to perform a bit poorly on English entrance exams, and as a result, they are placed in intensive English courses, which do not count towards their general graduation requirements. The result is high attrition rate and demotivated students. In view of the aforementioned difficulties, it was deemed pertinent to establish a site to address the reading problem from a first language Arabic perspective. The idea extends from the free English M.Reader site, hosted in Japan and developed by the Extensive Reading Foundation. The M.Reader, in simple terms, it promotes extensive reading practices. Students have access to more than 6,000 books. Students choose a book, read it, and then take a quiz. The site is able to track their reading progress and measure their reading performance and the number of words. More than 450 universities and schools are using the site. More than 100,000 users have access to the site, and more than 55,000 countries are using the English M.Reader. To achieve our aims, we had to seek the help of international industry partners, starting with the Extensive Reading Foundation in Japan, who agreed to host an Arabic version of their site in the UAE. Then we sought the help of local industry partners, starting with Al-Raha School and Al-Dar Academies. We've met with the teachers and they provided us with book lists. Again, research assistants, after extensive training, developed quizzes for the books, and interdisciplinary effort was also launched from HCT. Computer information science students, under the supervision of their professors, liaised with the developers in Japan to rewrite the codes. Arabic and Emirati studies professors edited, reviewed, and edited the quizzes produced by our young research assistants. And then again, they reviewed the interface translations of the Arabic version of the M.Reader. And finally, we were able to upload more than 150 books with functional quizzes to the Arabic M.Reader. This collaborative and multidisciplinary effort resulted in in some significant findings. From the researcher's perspective, we need to conduct further research on the extent to which Arabic teachers are aware of the merits of implementing extensive reading within the reading curriculum. Teachers need to also be aware that reading fluency is developmental in nature, and many students haven't attained the required level of reading fluency to function in higher education. Students need to be aware and keen on extensive reading within the community for the common good. Publishing companies need to relinquish control of their materials and collaborate to promote extensive reading. The project will empower students by transforming their motivations towards learning and changing their beliefs about themselves. They will become more in control of their learning. Most importantly, we will have a higher percentage of students entering directly to bachelor programs. And that by itself is cost effective from a macro perspective for colleges and schools, and from a micro perspective for students and families. Students with high levels of reading fluency are better equipped to function successfully in the workplace. Most importantly, this project will also help us fulfill the requirements of the UAE reading law. I don't know, nothing. There's one slide missing, sorry. I don't know why the slide is not showing, but I will just tell you a bit about it. Further opportunities will exist when online books are available from a range of publishing companies. And a reading population with increased literacy is directly related to increased employment probability and remuneration, and that's our ultimate purpose behind this project. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Tanya. It was a very insightful presentation of your work, and I really appreciate that this work already has external stakeholders involved in, and this is beautiful news for sure. So for those of you from the audience who would like to get in touch with Dr. Tanya and collaborate on her research, you will find her contacts in the chat session. In the meantime, we would launch the poll about this presentation, and I would like to invite you again to vote for this research. Thank you very much all for voting. And at the end of this section, I would like to thank you all for your participation. It was amazing to hear from our faculty how engaged they are in the research, which is related with educational innovation. Now we are shifting to the next session, which would present some of the successful startups from our students. But in the meantime, I would like to invite all of you from the audience to visit our InnCuVation Forum virtual showcase for a longer list of featured applied research that are contributing to innovation in health, sustainability, education, and emerging tech sectors. You will find link in the chat section, so please go to chat if you want to see more presentations than just those who have been presented today. So once more, thank you all of the faculty members engaged in these presentations, and I would give a floor now to our successful entrepreneurs, our students, who have been working very hard in a previous period on launching some very interesting enterprises. So the first student today who would be introduced within this session is Shama bin Hamad and her startup called Cyber Hero. It's about gamified cybersecurity awareness. So just a brief introduction. Cyber Hero is a formal awareness program aimed at training users of the potential threats to an organization's information and data and how to avoid potential risks. Its goals are to lower the organization's attack surface, empower users to take personal responsibility for protecting the organization's information, and to enforce the organization's policies and procedures to protect data. Shama, floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Shama bin Hamad. I am the CEO and founder of Cyber Hero. Cyber Hero, as he mentioned, it's a formal awareness program that the goal to enhance cybersecurity skills in different target groups in the community, especially the children and parents. The main reason behind data and security breaches is human error, responsible of 90% of such incidents. And after COVID, TRA also responds around 34,000 cyber threats in a month, which is a huge number. And the number of cyber threats had increased 50% and more in 1 year between 2019 and 2020. And we have, as we know, after the COVID and everything become online. So children are the common victim of cyber attacks because they are using some social media and they are already playing online games, which has a big role of to be a victim in cyber attacks. So our solution as cyber heroes, we come up with doing virtual and face-to-face session awareness sessions for parents and children, and we have also e-learning LMS, like learning management system, we are doing for children in early age to enhance them cybersecurity capabilities. There'll be some videos the students gonna see. Then it will have some quizzes system, and it will be integrated with the school grading system too. And we are working on Secure Exams Room. It's an application that will help to save the confidentiality and integrity of the exams by controlling the cameras and adding some policies and procedures. We adapted a new technique, which is information security awareness gamification. This game will have some tips the user should follow it. Like, we will teach them how to generate strong password. We'll teach them how to know how to compare between the suspicious URLs and non-suspicious, how to be safe. So it will have also evaluation system. It will have pre-test, then the game, then we have post-test. Actually, we are unique because we are an Emirati startup with a female lead, and we are first gamification related to cybersecurity in UAE, and we are focusing on teaching parents and students. So our market validation, actually there are a lot of cyber attacks that happened in this month only, like more than 1 million phishing attacks and 23 malware. So the projected size in the Middle East in general of cybersecurity is 110 billion. And the annual growth between those 4 years, like 30.8%. So for us, we are we are working to have 200,000 for 6 months to hire and outsource the programmer for the gamification, and we have internal company operations. We have for teaching materials like using quizzes and Kahoot and Photons, and subscription advertisement like Google advertisement. And we have creating the videos, which as I mentioned in the e-learning for the course, and we have logistics. So I am Shama bin Hamad, and my co-founders Hassa Al-Blushi. We were participated in Supernova competition in GITEX, and we were participated also in the IP Summit in Abu Dhabi. And we have interviewed by HCT, by Al-Bayan News, Emirates News, and yeah, this is our contacts. You can find us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shama. It's an amazing work done in previous period, and congratulations on such an effort. I would really like to invite all of the audience members who may be interested in your work to get in touch with you and to get more about what your project can support, how your project can support them. Thank you once more. And now I would like to introduce Mohamed Al-Suwaidi, who would present about his startup called E3DU, which is online platform for education. So just briefly, E3DU is a platform to engage students and parents to upgrade their experience when it comes to educational life. Students will be able to manage their school activities and ease their interactions with each other through slick and interactive features. Parents can view a report of their child's progress throughout the week, overseeing most of the students' choices, allowing them to help their children grow and prosper. So, Mohamed, floor is yours. Please present your work.
Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mohamed Al-Suwaidi, and today I'm going to be presenting E3DU. So recently, with the COVID-19 pandemic, there have been a multitude of problems that students have been facing, such as inefficient communication, that they couldn't manage their time properly, they couldn't properly set their schedules to the constantly changing educational system, and their inability to find the proper resources to improve, which meant grades went down drastically. So the E3DU's solution for students to be able to improve their grades, to improve the way they connect with other students, and to improve the way other people are connected within the educational world. That includes institutions, parents, and tutors themselves. So E3DU, why would we pick E3DU? Because students often find it hard to improve, and they do not know where to find the resources, and are often confused by the fact that there are so many free things that they could use online to improve their grades, and for the fact that they also can't manage their time properly. Many of the people that I have seen can't have or do not have proper schedules to get their work done. And social platform for education does not exist efficiently, or as efficiently as we would like, because all of the social platforms out there are currently LMSs. It means that they are mostly focused on class environments and not connecting people based off of the work that needs to be done. And the fact that COVID-19 also changed the way that everything works, from studying to socializing to learning new things. Okay. For our market size and validation, our market size is approximately 100,000 plus users in the UAE only, with an educational market worth 5 billion in the UAE itself. Here is a short video that if you want, you could email me and I could send you so you could learn more about the project. For now, we're going to skip that. So our achievements to date, we have currently reached the phase where we have a prototype website, and we're working on developing it with firms to be able to start the actual experience, to be able to get users in. So we're going to do our work in 3 phases. The first phase is to attract the students with a simple but desirable prototype. The second phase is expansion that allows students to have more features that allow more integration of more targeted markets. And the third phase is a campus management tool for campuses to use for their students and staff. So the team members are me, M.Ed, and my co-founder, Ibrahim Saif. All right. And as we mentioned, the next steps are here a bit more in detail. Enough. The fact that we want to improve and add more features. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohamed. Very interesting work, definitely. And I hope that it would hook an attention of some of our audience members. So if they want to get in touch with you, they will find contacts in the chat session. With this presentation, we would close a session related with HCT startups. I would really like to thank you all who have attended this subsection from the beginning up to the end. It is amazing how much the education is changing today. It is amazing how much innovation is involved in it. And we are very proud to claim that HCT is a front runner when it comes to educational innovation. So, however, and whenever you want to get in touch with us, please don't hesitate to contact any of our organizers or any of email addresses which have been provided in the chat session, and we will be more than happy to collaborate with you in the further work to ensure the sustainable future of education in the next 5 to 10 years. So again, thank you all for your patience and your dedication to this section. We would make a short break, about 20 to 25 minutes, and the main program would continue at 1 o'clock straight, if I'm not wrong, with Inspire and Ideate session, which would provide an opportunity to all of you who need an inspiration for startups or applied research. So it would explore the key industry trends in education and emerging technology. And session would try to help students and faculty to envision high potential opportunities on which to focus their applied research and their entrepreneurial ventures. Also, I would like to invite you all to attend our final day of the InnCuVation Forum tomorrow, and to see how our students are engaged and how our incubation process or methodology works, and how entrepreneurship and graduating companies is important for HCT as one of the mainstreams of our future development. So you will find the link to the follow-up session, which will start at 1 in the chat. I still can't see it, so I would just ask someone from organization to provide the link for Inspire and Ideate. Yes, it's there now. So I would like to thank you all for attending this session today, and after a short break we will get back to you at another Zoom address. Thank you very much and have a great day.